Hello everyone, sorry again about there was a technical glitch, but now I think we kind of resolved it. And so yes, so Hamrakulov, Jurabek, he played 1e4. So yeah, Metal Eagle, to answer your question, I think playing a lot, maybe getting better at tactics is good advice. Okay, let's check on some games. Alright, Grand Su against Tang, just 1e4, one move. Okay, William Grave against Mikola Bortnik. That's we have like a Grand Prix attack. Nico Chasen against John Hughes, nothing there. Okay, Evan Rosenberg against Irina. Symmetrical English, nothing much is happening yet. Daniel Johnson against Brewington still didn't start. Liam Putnam against Brian Lynn. Okay, so Brian Lynn decided to play a King's Indian. Okay, that's interesting. Actually, I played him in a recent tournament. Or maybe, sorry, maybe it wasn't. No, actually, I don't think I played him. I think I played another player, but keep confusing the young players. So he tries to play King's Indian or maybe Grunfeld. Okay, so some more moves have been made. So Liam Putman's trying to avoid heavy theory, playing b3. Double fianchetto. Okay, so this is kind of going to be a relatively slow game, strategical game. Roger Harshit is playing Open Sicilian against Serge Adelson. Okay, Alexander Katz against Kyle Dong. We have Amarazzi Bind, where Black played this very interesting line, knight b3, queen d8, okay. And Aristo Chakravarti against Leif Pressman. Leif Pressman is sort of like kind of like Jay Bone and Nathan Resica. Marshall Regular is like kind of a legendary player in the Marshall, played a lot when he was younger, still plays a lot here. And they're playing, okay, so g3, this is like a chessable recommendation these days against the Slav by Srinad Naranyan, so maybe white is following that. Leaf played this, and I know that 95 is a bit more common, but he played bishop g2. Yeah, and then he played b3. So yeah, I think this is pretty simple for Black to play. Okay, so let's see if there are any big developments on any of the other boards. So Daniel Johnson, Brewington, some moves have appeared. And looks like Brewington plays a delayed Steinitz. You know, whenever you play d6, it's kind of like a Steinitz, and he's playing a delayed Steinitz. And Daniel Johnson is thinking, so probably didn't expect it very much. Okay, Evan Roseman against Irina. Kind of a slow type of maneuvering. Yeah, here she's spent some time to try to decide which system to play. There's like many other things you could play, like e6 with knight e7, but e6 you have to then count for d4 and some sharp stuff like that. There's also knight f6, which allows d4. So the idea of playing d6 and bishop f5 is sort of to, for one, you're trying to play queen d7 followed by bishop h3, exchange bishops, and maybe even start h5, h4, primitive attack. And if white goes there, then knight f6 and d4, maybe like knight e4. That's another idea behind putting the bishop on f5. So it's a pretty interesting, flexible system. So yeah, bishop f5. Nothing much is happening so far, just a normal opening. All right, Nico Chasen against John, just like two moves. William Grave. Okay, so let's see what happened there. f4, knight c6, knight f3. Yeah, and here Black played a6. I guess he did not want to play d5 because of some bishop b5, so he played the move a6, and he's preparing to play d5 in the next move. I'm guessing here the most common move would be d4 at some point. Okay, let's see Jurabik against Zachary. So Zachary Timon Benham, I heard, usually comes late, so that's probably what happened. He probably came late. And Grant Su against Andrew Tang. Okay, this one is interesting. So here we have a slow Italian game. Black is playing two knights, inviting the fried liver. So basically the story of this bishop c4 is that black has two main moves, bishop c5 or knight f6. In both cases, white can play the slow Italian game. But you might ask, well, why would you also invite a fried liver? Well, because sometimes you want to actually not play bishop c5 and you want to play a different system, perhaps with playing g5 or g6 at some point, fianchettoing the bishop and then castling. So I think Andrew Tang is aiming for something like this. There's also a possibility of playing bishop e7 here, followed by castles, also considered to be a very solid setup. So not everybody wants to go bishop c5, going for the complex Italian. By the way, another drawback behind Italian is that after c3, you have to sort of be prepared for this line, which Wesley So recommends in his chessable course. And the moves start mainly like that. And now you can play bishop b4 or bishop b6, but mainly bishop b6 is the main line, and then there's like tons of theory here. So the question, to answer the question, why would you play knight f6 instead of bishop c5? Well, you know, you do allow the fried liver with complications, but you also avoid some other systems. Okay, so let's see what happened. Hi Matt, Quick Chess, how are you? Okay, so this one still, Zachary hasn't showed up. Okay, this one, William Graff played d4. Now I like this move a lot, because if white plays something slow, such as g3, then black will play something like d5 and get what they want. White does not get bishop b5, and black has a very strong center. So I kind of like d4, transposing into an open Sicilian, where, you know, the f4 move is going to be kind of useful in a situation like that, and a6 may or may not be useful. So I sort of like what William's doing here, you know, transposing into the open Sicilian. All right, Nico Chason against John Lodger Hughes. Yeah, that one is interesting. So John Hughes is playing the Kalashnikov defense. The difference between Kalashnikov and Sveshnikov is Sveshnikov would include these two moves and then e5, whereas Kalashnikov is e5 immediately. But it does allow white to play c4, which is a separate system. But the reason they do it is because in some cases they don't want to play knight f6. For example, most Kalashnikov players would play either b5 or bishop e6. So that was sort of the idea. But white played c4, a different system, and trying to play a Maratsi bind position. And Kalashnikov has gotten pretty popular lately, especially as Hikaru Nakamura won a very nice game against Lenier Dominguez, and he also held against Arjun Yergaisi in the last round in the Grand Swiss Isle of Man. So it's been kind of making a comeback after kind of not being very popular. And yeah, so far we're following some sort of theory, although, and Nico is the one sort of thinking, or maybe is he actually thinking? No, I think he just came up showed late. So I think they're both playing sort of fast, and I don't remember if bishop e7 is the move actually. I think there's also like systems with g6 or bishop e6 and then a6, but yeah, anyway, we'll see. All right, let's take a look at Evan Rosenberg against Irina. So yes, exactly like I said, black's idea is to play queen d7, bishop h3, and start off a kingside attack. So this is sort of what black wants, playing it like a little bit like a dragon. And I think black here is already quite comfortable. Is there a link for the live games on Lead Chess? Yes, there is.
15 minutes.
What?
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Yeah, that's the delay.
15 minutes is the delay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there is a link. I think they want. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Okay. So let's see. Daniel Johnson Brewing. Okay. So Daniel Johnson, after some thinking for a long time, played Bishop Lake C. Actually, this move makes sense. The reason you would play that is because if you play D4, you might fall into this trap, B5, and this is like a very famous Capablanca trap. And now, of course, you cannot take this pawn because of C5 followed by C4, and you trap the bishop. So basically what that means is that you have to play C3 and you have to play Gambit, and probably White didn't really want to do that. So that's why White decided to go for this. White can also consider system with Rook E1, C3, D4, slowly, but I think White wants to probably play a quick D4, either here or maybe after Rook E1. So that's his idea of Bishop takes C6. He wants to avoid the bishop. He wants to prevent the bishop from getting trapped. Okay, let's see Liam Putnam against last night's hero, Brian Lynn. Okay, so that's a kind of a slow-moving game. It's a King's Indian where White did a double fianchetto, got his pawn in the center, and Black will play something along the lines of E5 or something like that. So Roger Harshad against Serge Adelson. This one is okay. So this one is kind of normal. And usually Black plays knight c6. You know, with the 4 knight Sicilian with like very interesting lines such as knight b5. Knight b5 could actually transpose into the Sveshnikov. But it can also allow some interesting ideas like bishop b4 or bishop c5 with its own set of theory. It's also possible to do knight takes c6, d takes c6, e5, and then go for this very complicated sharp line where there's lots of heavy theory. This is like buckle your seatbelts type line. One of the lines, for example, goes like this. And then because of bishop d2, queen e3, which is bad for white, you lose a pawn. You lose the pawn on f4. You have to go king e2. So the fact that you have to play king e2 already tells you all you need to know. Like this is going to be really maddening theory. But, you know, after knight c6, you can also play moves like a3, which Hikaru tried once, g3 is normal, bishop e2. So there are a lot of other moves that are completely playable as well. So it's a very much interesting system. There's also a possibility of playing d6, going into Schwenningen, but these days it's a little bit frowned upon because white could play g4, g5 and get a quick attack. Now the reason people don't like that as much, because let's just say I play the knight off, right? Knight off, you go knight f6, knight c3, a6, and one of the popular systems for white is to play h3, trying to go g4, and then black goes there and white plays g4, and supposedly this is still quite a challenging line for white, right? Like white's posing a lot of problems, whereas the Keros attack, you're sort of getting that with an extra tempo where you don't have to lose time on h3. So that's why I think these days people don't play d6 very often. And there's also bishop b4 move, which I don't think is supposed to be as sound because of e5, and the tactics supposedly work well for white. For example, if you do this, I'm pretty sure this sort of is good for white, because in a lot of lines the queen gets trapped with something like bishop d3, and there's also knight b5 stuff and things like that. So that's why knight c6 here would be the most popular, going into the 4 knights with the pawn on e6. But black played queen c7, which to me already seems a bit weird, right? I know that, for example, there is a line knight c6 and queen c7, the Taimanov. This is kind of very popular. But this and this is like very weird. I've never seen this before. I think you need to have the knight on c6 here so you can go queen back to b8. and sort of because after this and queen c6, to be quite honest, I'm already not sure what happens in case of bishop f4, threatening this, threatening knight d6. There's also e5. I mean, to be honest, this already looks very shaky. So it seems like black played the opening in a very strange way. And yes, indeed, as you could see with the engine, it's already +2. So, I think Raja is now just deciding which one is the best, like bishop f4 or e5, but they're all... Okay, he ended up actually playing e5, which maybe is not the absolute best engine move, but still, it's a very strange way of playing the opening. I guess black must go knight e4 to try to survive, banking on the fact that there is no fork on c7 because it's check. But even still, white is definitely much better. But I think bishop f4 might have been even more precise, trying to also force knight a6. And then here to play either maybe knight d6 is simplest, and then just go for this. And you cannot take here because of queen there. And this will be just an absolutely horrible endgame for black. Two bishops, domination on the d6 square, just like really, really ugly. So yes, very strange. I think black just confused everything here. He probably was trying to play Taimanov, but put the knight on f6 for some reason instead of c6. Now Serge is like a veteran player. He's been playing a lot in the club for a long time, I've noticed. He's a player, I guess he's around 1900, something like that, USCF. He had an upset win yesterday against Dorothy Teasley, who also legend in the Marshall, the woman I am. She played also in the Mona Karf Memorial, the women's championship. And now he got a really tough pairing. He got a GM, very strong GM at that. Oh, actually, I made a mistake. E5 hasn't been played yet. It was my mistake. Actually, Raja Harshit is still thinking, probably choosing between the beautiful options. I'm guessing he is a perfectionist player. He won very nicely against me in tactics. I feel like he will take care of business in this game. Okay, so let's take a look at the next game. Alexander Katz against Kyle Dong. Okay, Alexander Katz is like a very strong IM, like around 2450 FIDE, I guess, something like that. Around mid-20s maybe. Quite strong. And he's playing against the prodigy kid Kyle Dong, who's something like 10 or 11 years old. So here, some moves happened. So white played here knight c3. Now, I would have probably queen d2 to avoid knight c3, to avoid this structure. But after this, yeah, now we get a very interesting structure, a very interesting unbalance, because black has like king weaknesses, and white has the bishop pair, but white has these weaknesses on the c file. So if black can consolidate, black will probably be better, but if white gets an attack, he could be better. So very unbalanced structure right there. Let's see what engine says. Okay, engine says it's roughly equal. And bishop h6, try to stop him from castling. Okay, makes sense. Okay, let's see Aristo against Leaf. Okay, this one is kind of a slow-moving game, right? Just like a very... Both sides are doing all that much so far, just putting pieces on good squares, and not much is happening. I guess knight d2, e4 would be something that I would probably play. It's going to be an equal position, and then the onus is going to be on Leaf to try to outplay his lower-rated young opponent. Let's see if there are any updates on the Raja game. Okay, so Raja is still thinking, obviously. Always good to be a perfectionist. Okay, so he played bishop f4, and Serge played knight a6. So let's see which one he will choose here. There are many pleasant options. I probably will just go knight d6, because knight d6 seems like the simplest, but Raja, he's a GM, strong GM for a reason. Like, he's capable of finding very interesting possibilities. So let's see what he'll play. So Liam Putnam against Brian Lynn. Not that much is happening. Okay, black to go for this little tactical operation with e5 takes knight g4. He will get the pawn back. And now white played knight c3. And I think that here white sort of has a pleasant position. I think this is sort of what white aims for here. So that's why I think the correct move is here actually d takes e5. And it's very concrete. It's based on the fact that knight takes e5 is actually a bad move because of this very nice move knight g4. And then I'm going to take on b2. And you're going to be in severe trouble. And if you cannot take on e5, then quite frankly, there's no need for knight g4. You would actually rather have the pawn on e5 so you can play e4, the very next move, right? So that was actually a pretty serious mistake here by Brian. He played knight g4, and now he gets a slightly unpleasant position where white has more space in the center, and black is just a little bit more passive. Can you please explain what side of the board should white be playing? Okay, so let's go to Grave against Bortnik. So it was knight takes d4. So transposed into an open Sicilian. And, okay, we got this position now. Let's see what happened in the previous few moves. Okay, so I guess this is all pretty normal. Takes queen c7, yep. Bishop e2, b5, takes. I guess white should probably be playing on the queen side. He has a bit of an advantage there. Sorry, not the queen side, the king side. So castles, e5, queen d3, maybe also knight e4 he wants to play, with idea knight d6 or knight g5. So I would say white is aiming to play on the queen side here. But yeah, the position is very tense. Like white could end up having somewhat of a loose center as well. So it's not so simple yet. But I guess white should probably castle and kind of go from there. Let's go to Grand Xu against Andrew. Also, Andrew Tang really is tanking here for a long time after either that or there's something with the transmission. But I would be a little surprised that he would be tanking for that long, because normally when you play d6, h6, you sort of have a system in mind what to play, like whether you're playing g6 or g5. So it's a little bit of a surprising moment to me, why to have a 17-minute think here. So I'm a little bit curious whether this is he's really thinking that long, or whether there's a transmission error, but I guess we'll figure that out a little bit later. Oh, well, Zachary, okay, well, I don't know if Zachary Tannenbaum showed up yet, but I heard he often comes late. But at least it looks like, maybe he's just late. Okay, so here William Grave is still thinking. Nico Chasen against John Lodger Hughes. Some moves happen here, so knight a3. So it was we last left off at knight a3, and black played a6, knight a3, f5. Black's playing instantly, by the way, so might still be prep. Engine seems to be okay with it. Yeah, so this is all pretty standard. Bishop d3, bishop e6, castles, knight f6, knight c2. Yeah, white wants to, of course, bring the knight over to d5. Castles, and now Nico quite quickly played knight d5, which is interesting. I mean, I guess you can also play knight e3, knight d5, but he decided to go with knight d5 immediately, which is a very interesting move. I think he wants to go for this position, and he thinks probably that white is better here, which, he may or may not be right. Black does have a good center here, so it's not that clear of a position. Like white is better in terms of king safety, but black has this long-term trump with this in the center. So to me, the position is double-edged, but Nico is a type of player he likes to attack, so it kind of makes sense that he would go for that. So let's see what John Lodger Hughes will decide here. At this point, I'm guessing they're both out of exact theory, so out of like concrete prep. So yeah, this is expected to be a very interesting game. So let's move on to Evan Rosenberg against Irina. So at queen d7, like I mentioned, white played knight d5, which of course is a prophylaxis against bishop h3, at least immediately, because then you're going to lose the exchange, which you don't want. So that's why Irina played knight f6, challenging the knight. And now Evan is deciding how to continue. I think the opening has been a success for Irina, either way. To get a very comfortable position with black with winning chances. Oh, thank you. This one is Daniel Johnson. So that was queen d3. Yeah, so this is like I expected. Yeah, d4. Because like I said, you can't really go d4 here because of this b5. Well, I guess you could, but then you have to. You cannot take here because of c5, c4. So that is the point. So takes here, queen d3, bishop e7. Okay, so this is like a normal. Okay, Brewington, by the way, is blitzing all his moves, so probably still in prep. But yeah, and Daniel Johnson's thinking a long time. Now, he likes to think, Daniel Johnson. I've played him several times. He usually is in time pressures, but he's pretty good, actually. Last time we played, he made a draw against me, and he was better in the final position when I offered it. So he outplayed me in an attacking game. I played the Petrov against him, and he attacked me very nicely, and it was a really sharp game, very interesting, and he played very well. So he's very dangerous. So I kind of like Brewington's idea of keeping him at a distance, playing a slower game, getting him low on time, and then maybe trying to trick him somewhere there. All right, let's take a look at Leon Putnam's game. So Leon Putnam, white is like very comfortable. And of course, Leon Putnam, I've noticed he played many matches against Hikaru. Hikaru seems to like to play Leon Putnam online. And Hikaru plays all these knight f3, b3, all this stuff. And I'm wondering if Liam learned that setup from Hikaru, actually, from playing with Hikaru. Just goes to show, who says you cannot learn from online matches? You definitely can, especially from a legend like Hikaru. Yeah, he got a nice position. I guess you should play rook d1 or something. And yeah, white's pieces are all good. It's like very harmonious. Black, slightly a little bit cramped, but not terrible though. But against an aggressive player like Brian Lin, who's like a King's Indian player, this openings, worked out perfectly. As we already know, to those of you just joining, he beat Fidel Corrales yesterday, who crushed him, knocked him out of the tournament, and a very dangerous player. Okay, Raja Harshit. Okay, he did decide to go for what I kind of suggested. He went for knight d6. You can see there are other moves too. There's like f3. But knight d6, in my opinion, is just the most practical. I mean, why not? I mean, you have complete domination. Of course, you cannot take here because of takes, and then knight e4. So, white is just going to be much better in a position like that. Two bishops, better pieces, domination, can't castle. I'm surprised it's only +2, actually. To me, it looks like it's even a bigger advantage. Alexander Katz. Oh, wow, this is interesting. So Alexander Katz here unleashed this move g4, which is like very interesting. Now, to me, it looks a little bit questionable, right? I mean, I don't know if there's really that much of an attack going on here, but in fact, you can maybe even go h5 and then knight d7. So I'm not really that sure. But anyway, Kyle just simply cold-bloodedly ignores it, right? He goes bishop e6, maybe wants to go there. And I mean, to me, the onus is on white to prove what he has. And g4 seems like it's not it. I think you have to probably play here. But it's still not easy. That's why I would prefer, in this situation, to just go queen d2. Okay, this game, again, not much is happening. Okay, so white did play knight d2 like I expected, trying to play e4. And Leaf played this move queen a5, which is interesting. Now, white played a3, which is good. I guess he could have also played e4. Quite frankly, I don't see a big problem with it. But okay, he played a3, queen b6. And now if you play e4, yeah, I guess you can, right? You can. Yeah, he wanted to just stop bishop a3, perhaps. That's why he played a3. All right, so let's go back to board one now. Okay, so this game, I don't know. This game, I'm suspecting that there's a transmission error because I don't see why Tang would have such a long tank. It just doesn't make sense in this position somehow. Although maybe he just will spot the guy time and play bullet, which he specializes in. But I don't know. I don't think so. I'm wondering if maybe Fidel thought he would have to go 5-0 to win a December. Perhaps he thought he would regret staying in a tournament. The draw occurred in one of his later games. He'd think I should have just withdrawn after Friday. Any thoughts? I don't know, but I feel like you feel like that same way when you join the tournament anyway, right? Like then it's like better probably not to play at all, right? Like because it can always go bad. Like you can. Imagine like I had that happen in my last big tournament, Chess Congress. I started with 4 out of 4, then I had 4.5 out of 5. I drew Fidel, and then I lost my last strong game to Raja Harshit, and then I didn't win the tournament, and I got like relatively speaking peanuts. So again, I played all these games just to end up like tying for third. So it's like if with that logic, then what's the point of even playing a tournament at all, right? I think that you have to play to love the game. Otherwise, there's just not that much money in chess. And that's partially one of the reasons why I'm not playing and I'm doing commentary, because I've kind of like been a little bit unhappy about my chess lately. I just don't enjoy it anymore as much. And commentary I actually enjoy much, much more. And it's definitely way less stressful. So, but I think like, to me, it's like once you're ready to join, the way I see it is like once you're ready to join the tournament, I think it just makes sense to play, especially if you can still theoretically win something. And honestly, even 4.5 probably still gives a prize. But anyway, it's his choice. Maybe he got sick. Maybe something came. Maybe it wasn't just because he lost. We don't really know. So, but anyway, it's so game still there's a I don't know. Maybe the first 2 boards are just glitches. I don't know. So anyway, we still have a lot of boards to look at. That's the good news. So we'll take a look at William Grave against Bortnik. So William Grave decided bishop f3. Okay, that seems like normal, like he wants to play 5. So black decided to play 5 himself, which also makes sense. And here, white can play f5, trying to block in the bishop, get some space on the king side. He can also castle, sack the pawn in order to play here, where you cannot take on e5 and you can try to take back. So it's a pretty interesting position. Is there 2 Raja Harshas? This one is different. Wait, what do you mean is there 2 Raja Harshas? He's playing on board 8, right? I'm a little bit confused. William Grave 2367, Mikola Bortnik is 2532. Sure, yeah. He did not beat. No, what do you mean? Raja Harsha did beat me in Chess Congress in the last round. You can check the Yoshazaror website. By the way, speaking of Bortnik, he also beat me in the. So those are like my last 2 losses in classical games. It's a different Raja Harshid than Philly? No, it can't be. No, what do you mean? No, this is a GM, and he's like, there's only one Raja Harshid. There can't be 2 in US. That's kind of ridiculous. There are 2 GMs with the same name? Raja. Well, maybe there are many Rajas, but I think there's only one Raja Harshid. No, I mean, that doesn't make sense. No, that's very surprising. No, I mean, the rating of this guy is also kind of similar. So And no, it kind of doesn't make sense, but okay, whatever you say. I don't know if anyone else wants to verify it. To me, it doesn't make sense, but okay. All right, let's see what happened in the Nico game. Okay, so they went down that rabbit hole, right? Black found the bait, took the pawn, sacrificed this guy, and now they have this structure. Okay, so basically here, black has these long-term trumps in the center, white has these light squares, and maybe slightly better kings. So engine says it's about equal. Probably black wants to trade queens somehow. If you can trade the queens, probably black has absolutely no problems. In fact, if anything, maybe black is for choice. Like imagine, for example, queens are traded and the king gets to e6. Black might be better here. So in the long run. So this will be interesting how this one will proceed. All right, Evan Rosenberg against Arena. So Evan is still thinking after knight f6. Probably struggling to figure out what to do because he doesn't really want to go there. Because of takes, maybe knight b4 he doesn't like, and then the pawn is like weak. This is probably his best way to play, but it doesn't seem very convincing, so he doesn't want to do that. So he's thinking. Okay, Pressman. Okay, so Pressman was rook e1, where you cannot take here because of knight a4. Queen gets trapped. It's a little bit embarrassed in the middle of the board. Okay, I see. That makes sense. Yeah, so rook e1. Yeah, so rook d8, white, black played. So white's still not playing e4. So maybe white's trying to win. Like maybe white doesn't really want to try to play simplify and make a draw. It's quite possible. So supposedly these top two boards moves will become okay. So we got moves on the Jurabek game now. Now it looks like Zachary Towneman did come late. He has only 53 minutes left. He's also a time pressure addict, so he likes to live on the edges on the chessboard. He's also a very good blitz player, by the way, very practical player. So takes bishop c5. Yeah, now let's see which line Jurabek plays. Bishop e3, maybe knight b3. We'll see. All right, this one's still nothing happening. All right, this one, white's thinking here after e5. Here, black is also thinking. Here, thinking. Okay, Daniel Johnson. Let's see that one. White thought for a little bit and decided for the b3, bishop b2. Kind of a very solid, harmonious setup. Okay, I mean, seems pretty normal. Black is still blitzing, by the way. Now, I'm not sure if black is still in his prep. I mean, I know that Brewington sometimes does play fast, but not always. I think he's actually matured quite a lot compared to like a year or two ago when he was like playing fast all the time. Now he takes a bit more time, but here, I don't know, like I feel like, I can't imagine this is still exact prep, but I guess he's thinking on white's time and he figured, okay, knight d7 can't be bad. Although there are other interesting options like knight h5, bishop f6, but Brewington, just figured, let's just play chess, can't be bad. Kind of my style, but play fast to wait for mistake by my opponent. So I definitely get that. And knight d7 probably is not a bad move, but not sure if it's the very best. But okay, still normal position. Liam Putnam, okay, so Liam Putnam decided to put the rook on c1. Okay, that sort of makes sense. Putting the other one to d1. Zachary is one of the most interesting and talented people I know, and the defending champion, even if he's 14th seed, underrated. Oh yes, I forgot to mention, yes, he's actually defending champion. He won last year. Now, last year's field was way, way weaker, of course, than this week. But Jurabek Kamrakulov played. I think there was another GM who played, Sergei Kudrin. There were definitely other strong players. And yet, Zachary Tannenbaum ended up outlasting the field and winning the tournament. I think he might have even had a half-point buy in the first round, if I'm not mistaken. And then he still won. Jurabek Kamrakulov was leading with one round to go, and then he sensational lost to David Grasso, who is a veteran master, 2200 floored, but quite incredible upset, and and as a result, Zachary Tannenbaum won his game and overtook him. So yeah, that was quite epic last year. I remember that. But this year, of course, it will be much harder to win for Zachary or for anyone for that matter because the competition is just so stiff, which I guess makes sense because the prizes are 2 times higher. But not just that. I mean, the first place is twice higher. No, sorry, not twice higher, maybe even 2.5 times higher, right? It was always, I remember back in the days when I played, it was always 2,000 first place, but this time it's 5,000 first place, 2,500 second, and then there's also a third and the fourth place and class prizes. But also, it's not overlapping with great nationals, which is a big deal because a lot of the young players like Nico Chasen, Brewington Hardaway, Gus Huston, they would have played in the yeah, they would have been playing in the great nationals. By the way, what happened to Gus Huston? Is he having a half-point buy or something? Yeah, because I thought he was registered, but I guess I don't see him. Like he's another like really talented, strong young IM. But I guess yeah, he's not. I guess he's not in the tournament maybe anymore, or maybe he wasn't even. Yes, I forgot. But yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, there are two Raja Harshits. 3-0. Wow. Wow, what?
Comparing IDs, USCF IDs.
Ah, but UCF IDs, yes, but I mean, are they both GMs though? No, yeah. It's a mistake on UCF. Yeah, it's no, I mean no, there's only one Raja Hart. I mean, I know there are a lot of people with like name or last name Raja. Like the most common one that comes to mind is Raja Panjwani. He's like a very strong IM. There's also maybe some other Rajas, but mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Okay. I see. Yeah. Well, anyway, it's not that important, but I'm pretty sure there's only one Raja Harshit. But anyway, let's go back to okay, so the Andrew Tang game's still frozen. Okay, Jurabek, they're playing sort of the main line in the sky. Okay, so Bishop C4 is of course designed to stop T5. Black played there. Queen G6. Yeah, this is all theory. And now taking on E4 is very dangerous because Knight D2. Queen back and let's say Knight B5 at some point. With Bishop H5 stuff. So it gets very tricky. Alright, William Grave. Oh, he took on E5. Wow. Wow. That I didn't expect. I don't like that move actually. Wait, I don't like that move. I think I would have preferred to play F5 because I don't like the idea of giving black this outpost and making this bishop kind of not great. I think it would have been better to block the bishop on C8. Or if you're gonna allow taking, then do it on your own terms. Yeah, so this I don't sorry guys, wait, technical glitch with the mouse. 1 second, guys. There's a technical glitch. There's something with the mouse, guys. Sorry about that.
Okay, that will break. The
Yeah.